You can put it on the board. Yes! Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV mobile studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends over at uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignons, and of course, the king of all, those massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Those are incredible. Hell, wait till you try those burgers. Prime Angus and Wagyu burgers. Best in the business, best I've ever had. Probably be the best you've ever had too. Check them out at uppercutchops.com. That's www.uppercutchops.com. Or you can find out also more by calling at 702-799-9935. Find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for uppercutchops.com. All right, nice round of applause. Yes! All right, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. From Honolulu all the way over to Atlanta, a whole bunch of points in between on television, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, WOW, and Time Warner Cable affiliates, as well as hotel television in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. All right, folks, now that we have all that taken care of, how about this? You know, we think about all those players that make all this money and they say, well, geez, where do we invest it? We make millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. Imagine that, right? So the players from back in the day when football was football, when baseball was baseball, before they were using a loaded bag, bean bag that is, that was loaded with what? I don't know, rubber, something to make it jump out of the park like a golf ball. Anyway, look, these big performances lead to big income. But sometimes, you know, they endorse, the players that is, they endorse these other companies, which gets them into a little hot water. So we think of that endorser scenario with the big securities investigation from the FTX crypto fraud crap. How about that? Now, FTX, as you may know, collapsed. It's ballooning revenues, or it's ballooning everything, the company itself. Look, this is actually arguably the biggest financial story of the year. And of course, it's worsening for Tom Brady and Steph Curry and other endorsees of the now bankrupt cryptocurrency platform. Listen, folks, let's think about that for a minute. Are you interested in investing in something that actually has a physical being, kind of like whether it's real estate or hard money or coins or gold or silver or whatever the hell it is? There you can actually see and hold your property or stand on or live on or whatever, instead of an electronic digital currency that has no physical being. Where's the value in that? Who knows? But the athletes, of course, were pushing it. So what? They could get even more money on top of it, as if they need more money. Maybe you're making $60 million a year or whatever the hell it is. Well, guess what? What's an extra 10 or 20 million bucks at that point? Well, guess what? These players now that did all the endorsement, not just players, but all the endorsers, have a bigger problem. Because the problem now comes from the director of enforcement for the Texas State Securities Board. They have announced that the state regulators are investigating multiple celebrity endorsers tied to the FTX trading platform. And this is an effort to determine whether, of course, securities laws were violated by Tom Brady, Steph Curry, and others while promoting the FTX cryptocurrency. So Texas regulators have begun corresponding with securities regulators in other states, and that align with state investigations into the celebrity endorsers could be announced in the coming weeks or months, a source familiar with the investigation told many outlets, media outlets that is. In fact, that source said, quote, "The expectation is there will likely be a comprehensive review by many regulators across the country, depending on what securities or consumer protections might apply in other states. So Texas isn't likely to stand alone." Close quote. Now, asked whether state probes could be first steps towards an eventual federal securities investigation involving Tom Brady and other celebrity endorsers. The source added, quote, "That's certainly not anything the state of Texas can influence, but it's sensible that what is happening with FTX will occupy the attention of federal regulators at the appropriate time." Now, here's something to consider, folks. The fact that this is crossing state lines. So a broadcast, for example, that could happen in Florida or Texas or California. Well, guess what? Once that message is heard and acted upon in another state, in my opinion, that becomes an interstate issue and a federal issue. So if you think this is going to go away at the state level, I don't think so. No. Because they're going to say, "Show me the money!" Yeah, buddy. There's going to be a lot of money that's going to go backwards in this flow of where it flowed to. And it's going to get messy. So the scrutiny of Texas state regulators came after the trading platform collapsed, well, recently, as you may be aware of. And of course, which includes freezing billions of dollars in customer accounts while founder Sam Bankman-Fried, you can call him Fried at this point, moved to the company, of course, into bankruptcy protection. Now, the total asset losses by FTX customers are still unknown, but reports have the platform losses at $8 to $12 billion. Can't make this stuff up, folks. Possibly more. And a handful of hedge funds that were invested into the platform have already notified investors of potential losses. So the average Joe or Josephine got screwed in this one too. Believe me, folks, this is widespread and rampant. So guess what? Even venture capital fund Sequoia Capital, which reportedly apologized to its partners for $150 million in anticipated losses tied to FTX. Yes, you can make it up, but at this one you don't have to make it up because this is legit. So these big VC firms, venture capital firms, losing money as well, the hedge funds that are out there invested into it. What a waste. What a colossal waste. Folks, that's why they say get a tangible asset for your money, not a digital item, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Anyway, what all of this means for Tom Brady and Steph Curry and other celebrity endorsers is still undetermined. But the direction of enforcement for the Texas State Securities Board, listen, this guy, John Rotunda, this guy is top dog over there. He told Bloomberg that payments and equity received by Brady and others will be under the microscope, including their disclosures and agreements with FTX. And the center of the review for regulators, both state and federal, will be what aspects, I wonder, what will they be? What aspects of FTX exchange qualifies as securities? Oh, that's right. It was money transacted from point A to point B over state lines, whether digital or not. Of course, making them applicable to various securities laws. And of course, historically, securities violations involving endorsers are subject to potentially significant financial fines rather than criminal convictions involving jail time. Those amounts could be gigantic. Well, think about this. The logic between fining one of these supersonic rich people, it's pretty obvious. Look, they say, you're not going to make money in jail. You're going to make money in front of the camera or on the field, on the court, wherever the hell you're at, whatever that is. You're a celebrity. You keep making money, and the government is just going to pile up all those fines. And that's why they said, historically, securities violations involving endorsers are subject to potentially significant financial fines. Well, right, because they're producing mad money for themselves and those companies by talking and making an appearance. So why wouldn't the government allow them to stay on the field or in front of the camera to keep making money so they could what? Keep taking money. That makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. So yeah, they're not going to serve jail time, in my opinion. Of course, that's my opinion, and I could state that. So yes, the amounts are gigantic, but this latest round of questioning comes on the heels of a class action lawsuit filed against FTX. And of course, Bankman-Fried and the platform's large amount of endorsers. And those endorsers range from Shaquille O'Neal, these are just some names that are involved, Shaq, to Tom Brady, Steph Curry, even the guy from Shark Tank, one of those guys. Go figure, right? Shark Tank? What's wrong with this picture? Not really sure. But the point is, all of these people now are subject to big bucks, potentially. Losing, that is. And of course, tennis stars as well, right? The Osaka tennis star there and some other people. Look, this is one big mess. It's a big mess. It's not going to go away, folks. The feds want their money. The class action lawsuit, in my opinion, will be a colossal success. And it's going to be a colossal loss, in my opinion, for all those celebrity endorsers. Folks, it's going to get ugly and ugly fast. Don't go anywhere. We have lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. Maybe we'll shift into college football when we return. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea, the American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you and brought by our friends over at Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people they don't understand, plus a whole lot more. For more information, contact Legal Shield at 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Again, 213-245-1305. Or check them out online at nocourt.us. That's www.nocourt.us. You can also email them at info@nocourt.us. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, the New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in to everybody that may be listening in with our friends over in California on NBC News and CNBC Financial. You know, sometimes they play it, sometimes they don't, right? You never know which one it's going to be. Anyway, welcome in also to everybody in Las Vegas on KQQY, Las Vegas Public Radio. Also way over in Atlanta, Georgia, WDJY 99.1 FM. And of course, Auburn, Alabama. That is home of the 2021 World Champion Atlanta Braves. Thanks for joining us from Columbus, Georgia, all the way over to Montgomery, Alabama. And of course, everybody picking up our content on KTXT Raider Radio from Texas Tech University, 88.1 FM in Lubbock, Texas, plus all of our affiliates on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, WOW, Time Warner cable affiliates, as well as Hotel Television in 500,000 rooms from coast to coast, and Instagram, Facebook, and AMP TV, AAMP.TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. All right, we think of this college football playoff ranking thing. And a lot of things change on a week-to-week basis, as you know, in these rankings. But the next installment, of course, of the CFP is going to be changing again very soon. Everybody watching this, you may actually get this a moment just before it changes, or possibly the next day. You never know. It depends on what market. Listen, we broadcast at all different times, 8 a.m. in Atlanta, 3 p.m. in Honolulu, 5 p.m. in Las Vegas, 7 p.m. in this market, 6 p.m. in that market, and on we go. So you never know what time you're going to get this. Nonetheless, it is live if you're streaming. Thanks for doing that as well. So you can always stream us at either, you can stream us on Instagram, Facebook, or AMP TV, as I had mentioned. But also, in case you missed any of the shows, you could get the full file, the full show on Apple Podcast. You can get it on Spotify, Amazon, Audible. Yes, we're on Audible. YouTube, we're there too. Stitcher and Google Play. We're all over the place, folks. You can't get away from us. Anyway, back to this college football thing. All right, so LSU and USC, of course, has moved closer to the top four in the post-Week 12 edition of the college football playoff ranking. And Tennessee dropped from number 5 to number 10 after it was blown out and embarrassed by South Carolina. So LSU, a 2-loss team, figure that one out, moved up to number 5, and they're still somehow sitting ahead of 1 loss, USC, and 1 loss. That was a 3-point loss on the road at Utah. Very good team. But nonetheless, the top 4 stayed, and that would be Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU in that order. Some things are going to change, though. Nonetheless, Michigan, as I just alluded to, Michigan plays at Ohio State, which everybody knows is a win, and you're in the Final Four, so to say. But here's the funny thing. If you look at the makeup of the top 4 teams, better yet, we'll call it the top 6 teams, and you say, wait a minute, are Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, TCU 4, LSU 5, USC 6. All right, we'll stop right there. A little reality trip for you. It's rivalry week. So now Ohio State is going to play Michigan. They're hosting Michigan. And the reality is, if Ohio State wins, and they win big, it could very well and likely will drop Michigan to slot number 5. Now, here's where it gets interesting. TCU has a very tough game against Iowa State. Now, if TCU happens to win in a close game, TCU combined with a USC win, in my opinion, of course, with a USC win, a nice win, a double-digit win over Notre Dame. If they get that win, USC will then leapfrog into the number 4 slot. Michigan drops to number 6 with a loss, a big loss. And then TCU drops to number 5. LSU would have to follow suit because I don't think you're going to see a 2-loss team in these college football playoffs Final Four. I can't see it. It doesn't make sense. But let's take it a step further. Let's just say Ohio State loses to Michigan. What if Michigan does the unthinkable? Georgia, let's just say they win their game. They remain number 1. If Michigan wins, essentially they would go to number 2. Ohio State likely would go to number 3. So those two teams would likely flip-flop in the order. And what's the significance of that? There is no significance. So the CFP doesn't benefit. So that would mean if Michigan wins, then Ohio State would drop possibly to number 4. And then let's just say TCU wins. If TCU wins, they would go to number 3 as an undefeated team. So now you would have a matchup in this 4-team setup. Mind you, this is all before the Pac-12 championship game, before the Big Ten championship game, before the Big 12 championship game. But this is how it all could unravel. Now let's just say we get to this Big 12 championship, and let's just say TCU wins. You win and you're in, possibly. I'm going to say yes, you win. If USC beats Notre Dame, and then they turn around and likely beat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, now you've got a 1-loss team in USC that would be ranked 4th, 5th, or 6th. We're not really sure what that's going to look like. Why are we going through this? Because we can. That's why. Georgia would remain in their number 1 slot. Unless, of course, they do the unthinkable and lose to LSU in the SEC championship game. You want to talk about muddying the waters? That would be disastrous because then you'd have a 1-loss Georgia. Just try to follow along. A 2-loss LSU. A 1-loss Michigan or Ohio State. Possibly a undefeated TCU. Does that mean TCU goes to the number 1 slot? No. Number 2? Possibly. And I say number 2 possibly because what if, here we go, we're having fun with this what if thing. At least, I don't know, I'm having fun with it. So anyway, let's just say Ohio State wins the Big Ten. Better yet, they beat Michigan. They knock Michigan down, but Ohio State loses to the Big Ten West champion. Now, I think in this case, Ohio State stays in the top 4, no matter what. But if Michigan loses, or better yet, if Michigan wins, they go to the Big Ten championship. And they lose in the Big Ten championship to a lesser team than Ohio State. Ohio State, temporarily, they would jump ahead of them. But then if Ohio State is not in a championship game, let's say they're at 11-1 in this particular case, then Michigan goes to 12-0 with the Ohio State win, with they beat Ohio State, and then Michigan loses in the Big Ten championship game. Then they go to 12-1. Well, the problem is Michigan then would lose to a lesser team than Ohio State. Therefore, Ohio State would jump right back over them in the standings, thus possibly putting Michigan out of the picture. So if Georgia loses to LSU in the SEC championship game, now you've got a 2-loss team that has beaten the number 1 team in the nation, and Georgia then would probably drop maybe to number 2 or number 3. You see how flawed the system is? The problem is this, folks. We need a representative of 4 different conferences. We don't need 2 teams from the same conference. It's not fair. It's a broken system. That's why expanding the playoffs to 8 to 12 teams, really 16 is the ideal number, it ensures that there's more fairness in this, because the TV contracts want what? They want the SEC, right? They also want the Big Ten. But the reality is they want the SEC because that's basically pro football, but in a college uniform. So the problem is this. Even Clemson, if they end up winning the ACC championship, they had such a bad loss at Notre Dame. The problem is going to be, will it be good enough to get them into the picture or discussion for the Final Four? The only way that's the case is if Notre Dame ends up beating USC and beating them big, which is highly unlikely. So you see so many different variables happen here. There's so many different things in play with the college football playoff. It is a broken playoff system, just like when they had the BCS or the BS, I probably should say. Yeah, because that was a very, very bad system. Maybe that's what it's BCS, bull bad system. I don't know. But either way, this whole thing is terrible, and it's all about money, and it's not about the best teams. That's the problem with the college football playoff. We're going to be back here with college football edition from East Lansing, Michigan, when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC Sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Oh, Norman. Don't call me Norman. Call me Chubsy Ubsy.
There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be.
welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Cali Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk show. Cali Vegas can help with everything they need to get out of sitting in hours of traffic, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job, and host their very own talk show in their very own home studio. For more information, contact Cali Vegas at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Again, 949-445-1119. Or check them out online for more information at CaliVegas.com. That's CALI Vegas.com. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody. Television, radio, streaming, you know who you are. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows as well, which can be found on our podcast page. Also, make sure you check out our partners. One of those is the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out, folks. All right, back to college football. And of course, you know, there's a couple of big schools over in Michigan. One of them, of course, being those boys from, well, let's say football teams, from Ann Arbor, right? The Wolverines. Then, of course, you have Sparty over in East Lansing. And there seems to be a discipline problem over in East Lansing. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons for it. We don't have enough time to talk about it on today's show. But what I will say is that Michigan State's ugly incident of their fight causing trouble, beating people up for no reason, defenseless people taking helmets and smashing helmets onto players, other people, whatever. Well, guess what? It's finally caught up to those over in East Lansing, and 7 players get hit with criminal charges regarding this. Good for them, and they should be. So 7 Michigan State football players were charged by the Washtenaw County, Michigan prosecutors for their role in 2 assaults of Michigan players last month in the post-game Michigan Stadium tunnel. How ridiculous. 6 were hit with misdemeanors. Really, a misdemeanor? That's criminal, man. That's a lot bigger than a misdemeanor. I think they should be felonies, in my opinion. Only 1 sophomore safety, Kerry Crump, was charged with a felony. I think all of them should be. That's a felony assault. And he was seen on video swinging his helmet at a Michigan player. That's, I believe, assault with a deadly weapon. You never know. Diehard Spartan fans are crying about the prosecutorial misconduct. And of course, the seat of Washtenaw County is Ann Arbor, which of course is the home of the University of Michigan. But why wouldn't it be heard there? That's where the incident occurred in the first place. So of course, others are still blaming poor game management protocols that allowed 2 Wolverines to enter the tunnel as Michigan State was leaving the field. What kind of crap is that? And those people that are crying about it, of course, are Michigan State people. Get over yourselves. Calling it Jim Harbaugh's fault. And it's not popular, of course. Whatever. Shut up, Michigan State. Really. Why don't you focus on your academics and your logic before calling out and making yourself look like a bunch of damn fools. So other than Crump, the legal challenges should be easy to deal with, and a news dump isn't exactly the sign of a prosecutor trying to make too big a deal of this, which is ridiculous, of course. These kids, in my opinion, should be imprisoned. And of course, for Michigan State supporters, there can only be hope that this is officially the bottom for a nightmare season on and off the field. And of course, that may be wishful thinking since Michigan State's next opponent is Penn State. And of course, Michigan State is a whopping, yes, 18.5-point underdog, likely set for a blowout. And of course, if it doesn't get any worse, or if it, better yet, if it does get worse, at State College, home of the Nittany Lions, well, there's always next year. Or, of course, or there better be. Because this wasn't or shouldn't be acceptable or excusable in anybody's brain. How in the world can you excuse these kids for doing what they did? What an embarrassment. And of course, the task ahead for Sparty and their head coach, Mel Tucker, is clear. Right this ship and do it quick And I believe, in my opinion, Mel Tucker should be fired. And of course, I believe he has a privileged and convenient 10-year contract as well. Of course, they say it's based on the belief that he could bring Michigan State to Big Ten and national competitiveness. All that, in my opinion, privileged money for mediocrity, bring it to competitiveness? What the beep does that have to do with anything? No, competitiveness is one thing. A national title or even a Big Ten title is something else. So Michigan State is willing to blow damn near $10 million a year on mediocrity? Is that the message they're sending? Yeah, spending as well. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it appears, again, as I see it, that Michigan State does the same damn things with their academics. Incredibly mediocre and very, very much in the national picture. I believe that Michigan State's academics are a colossal failure with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 programs in the entire university. Not even close to the University of Michigan and what they offer a class organization. It is what it is. Now look, it was crafted during a dream season that saw Michigan State start 8-0 and climb to number 3 in the polls after defeating Michigan for a second time in as many years last year. And of course, the team talked of a big and alleged possible star tailback, ridiculously billing him as a Heisman candidate. And of course, anything to sell the administrators to handing out, in my opinion, a rip-off contract to Mel Tucker. And of course, before Mel showed up, they finished with pretty good records. And of course, look at them now. They're a national embarrassment. They're an embarrassment to the Big Ten. They're an embarrassment to their students that pay a lot of money to go to that university. Right, we'll just say it that way. A little tongue-in-cheek, right? Anyway, hopes were high. Recruiting looked strong. Tucker's cast a big presence and personality, chewing cigars and bringing in luxury cars for recruiting visit photo shoots. Yes, the usual privileged hype as I see it. And of course, Michigan State seems to have a growing shallow identity of payoffs and not academics. What else is new? Which is critical when surrounded by 3 national recruiting powers and brands, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, 2 of which have any semblance of academics, and of course not the latter. Anyway, then of course, the House of Cards in East Lansing fell. And are you surprised? I'm not surprised. State has been a mess this season, and a title fight was just an ugly punctuation of that. Mel Tucker suspended 8 players because he was forced to, in my opinion, and turned Sparty into the Big Ten's embarrassment. Just when things couldn't get worse for the Big Ten, add Sparty. And of course, in their last game, they were blown out, or better yet, they were blowing out Indiana. Yes, Indiana. 31-14, up by 17, with just some ticks left in the third quarter and the fourth left. And guess what? Indiana was on a 7-game skid and likely to fire their coach. However, not so fast, because of course they came back to beat Michigan State in double overtime, 39-31, and then dropped Michigan State to 5-6 overall. Making a bowl game isn't much at 6-6. But of course, for Sparty, as the story is spun, it would be better than the alternative. Still, even if they're bowl eligible, their behavior shows that they don't deserve a bowl game except the toilet bowl. Hold your applause. And of course, the program is desperate for anything positive, which is why the charges sure didn't help with these criminal activities from the players. Also not helping, Michigan and Ohio State are playing in another titanic matchup of their incredible rivalry. Of course, the biggest game in the Midwest and probably in the nation as well. And of course, having a serious impact on the college football playoff, which we talked about previously. And of course, that draws in generations of eager recruits to take part. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, which is currently has verbal commitments from the top 2 recruits in the state of Michigan. Yes, for the class of 2024, will play its annual showcase game in Los Angeles. And of course, USC will likely give them the business. Needless to say, Michigan State has headlines, mass charges. These guys are producing zero, nothing except trouble. So what does all this mean? Look, ultimately, Mel Tucker and his contract are a colossal waste of money and, in my opinion, and State should be embarrassed by it. Instead of being smart with the money and putting it into academics, State decided to keep their mediocre at best academics and blow $95 million on a football coach. And of course, they wonder why their students' outlooks for jobs and income is so much less than their in-state rival over in Ann Arbor. Fools. Back here in a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
.590 VOCM St. John, 850 CHVO Carbonear, 710 CKVO Clarenville, 560 CHCM Marystown, 650 CKGA Gander, 620 CKCM Grand Falls, and 1240 CKIM Bayvert.
KFMK Houston 103.1 WXXY.
WPMC TV 43, taking pride in life.
WAQI, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
EXW Trenton, Kicks 101.5, the music you love to hear.
WRFM, Stereo 105.
WKLO Louisville.
You're listening. The only one radio station in the heart of Pasig City. This is 104.1 Best Radio FM. Stay tuned.
WAYB FM 95 Atlantic City C100.
You're tuned into Boston's best for dance and R&B. Keep it locked. Keep it locked to Mix 96.
9935 at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com again, as I mentioned earlier, for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, of course, our recorded shows, which are found on our podcast page, and of course, the partners, with lots of great partners. In fact, one of them that's on there, our friends over in San Diego at Cali Strong. Check them out at cali-strong.com for all your holiday gear. That's cali-strong. Great hoodies, great hats, socks. Get a sock. I guess you get socks with every order. They're phenomenal. I've got a whole closet full of gear, t-shirts, you name it. I've got it. Coats. They even have surfboards, skateboards, you name it. Great shoes too. Got a great pair of shoes from them. cali-strong.com. That's cali-strong.com. Make sure you look them up. Get some more information. Check out the site. You may see something you like. All right, folks. Continuing on. Welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Time Warner, Frontier, and Wow Cable Television affiliates, as well as Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast, gaining over 4 million impressions per hour. Big number, folks. Huge number. All right. Over to the NFL. How about this? You know, the Panthers, when they had this quarterback scenario, when they Cleveland got rid of Baker Mayfield, shipped him off over to Carolina. What a disaster that's been. And of course, now the Panthers have a quarterback problem because Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold now will start versus the Broncos instead of Baker Mayfield. This is stupid. The article, and this is from multiple outlets. This one actually came from Yahoo. They said, oh, it's Sam Darnold's time to shine. Really? Carolina Panthers announced that their previously sidelined quarterback will make his first start of the season, yes, against the Broncos, pushing back Baker Mayfield into the second spot. Sam should have been the starter, obviously, all season. Baker's a good quarterback, but Baker's in the wrong system over there. And we see this problem a lot of times. I mean, notorious for bad quarterback decisions and bad use are my beloved hometown Chicago Bears. Just a terrible organization from the quarterback position. Awful, awful. And now look, Carolina's doing much the same thing. So they say Darnold, who made 11 starts last year for the 5-12 Panthers, has spent nearly the entire season on injured reserve after getting a high ankle sprain in a preseason game. Sam and Baker had been competing for the job, and while it didn't seem likely Darnold would win it, the ankle issue made the Panthers' decision easy. And we're going to get to those injuries in just a moment. Now, the initial prognosis of Darnold was 4 to 6 weeks, and the Panthers designated him to return from injury reserve in mid-October. And they had 21 days to activate him, and they waited until, November 7th to actually do it. When Darnold went on the injured reserve, it was hard to see him getting a chance to start a game with Baker in the driver's seat. Now that he's clear of Cleveland, that disaster up there in Cleveland, disaster by the lake, he was expected to resume playing at or close to his top level, and that didn't happen though. Baker had been in a bad way, and of course, to the point where interim head coach Steve Wilks had Mayfield's backup, P.J. Walker, make a handful of starts. How stupid is that? And of course, now Walker's nursing his own ankle injury. So maybe the decision's kind of easy for Carolina, but what a mess they have made over there. And of course, it faces the choice of more Mayfield in a bad system or giving Darnold a shot. Wilks decided to go with Darnold. I think Wilks' job sort of depends on it. Weirdly, Darnold and Mayfield had performed about the same for the Panthers. In 12 games last year, Darnold completed 243 of 406, or 59.9%, with 9 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. In 7 games, Mayfield has completed 119 of 206, or 57.8%, basically 1 percentage point or 2 between them. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So the bigger problem is, what are we talking about when it comes to Sam Darnold? Are we talking about a situation where Sam Darnold had an injury and Sam Darnold wasn't able to do anything specifically about it? Are we talking about Sam Darnold getting a shot when he should have been the quarterback in the first place, when he should have been playing. Oh, that's right, he was injured. And then you ask yourself, why was Sam Darnold injured? Right? There was a high ankle sprain. And then you ask yourself about these ankle sprains, and you say, is there a correlation between the large amounts of non-contact injuries in the National Football League and those blasted shots? That's what you got to ask yourself. Is there a correlation between them? I say there is. Now, NFL COVID testing results and their vax rates from December 26th of 2021 to January 8th of 2022. Okay, so this information goes back many months, but now they say as of January 13, nearly 95% of the NFL players have taken the shot. Nearly 100% of the NFL personnel have taken the shot. With such a highly shot-taking crowd, the NFL environment is not comparable to anywhere else in society. And we will continue, as they say, to work with the NFLPA with the goal of having 100% players taking the shot. Okay, if that's the case, for the first year of administering those shots, ACL tears are up 28%. MCL tears are up 8%. Keep in mind that this whole season hasn't even been counted. So as the body, it appears, to break down, possibly by taking that shot or those shots, a lot of non-contact injuries seem to be happening. Now, you could attribute that possibly to two different things. Number one, there's a problem, an ongoing problem, with turf. We covered that a couple of weeks ago on this program. But then, if you take the bodies breaking down as seen, widespread, you can find it anywhere on TV. It's been on Fox News recently. It's been on Pick Your Favorite. Even the Washington Post, a hyper blue Washington Post, had stated something to the effect of the die rates, the mortality rates actually appeared to be, this is as my recollection, so don't quote me on this, to my recollection, that the die rate or the mortality rate for those taking the shots is actually higher than those not taking the shots. Now, mind you, that is a hyper-liberal, left-leaning publication. They said that recently. That's the Washington Post. Yeah. So that's what has been reported. Unfortunately, people don't see it that way. Oh, look, quick, let's go take another shot. Let's take another shot. Oh, hey, there's the new one. It protects against, the big bad virus and then Omicron and all this other crap. Well, it seems like people are taking shots wildly because the media is telling them what? Take the damn shots. And of course, they're promoting it on Pick Your Favorite Network throughout this conference, that conference, whatever conference. If you're watching a television program, whether it's you're watching some game shows on television or you're watching sports on TV or the nightly news, oh, take the shot, it's safe. Really? How safe is it? How many millions of people have had adverse effects that VAERS doesn't seem to be reporting anymore? And how is it that, this is one thing I want to know, how is it that Italy went from 140,000 COVID deaths magically down to 3,000? How does that work? How did they go down to 3,000 deaths as reported? What happened to the other 137,000 of them? Where'd they go? We'll have to ask our friends over in Italy about that, because it seems that here over in the United States of America, we're not getting the right information, or the internet isn't getting the right information, or the news crews aren't getting the right information from the mainstream media. So who's getting the right information? Is there a correlation between turf injuries and give in the field? 100%. Is there a correlation between a body degrading, a human body crumbling down, we'll just say, having a lot of health problems, and those shots? Magic 8 Ball says signs point to yes. Now take those that have taken those shots as deemed safe, take that correlation, and then you take the non-contact injuries in the National Football League. Is there a correlation to bodies potentially breaking down from these alleged shots, the non-FDA approved experimental drug injections, you want to call them that? Is there a correlation between those shots and player injuries, non-contact injuries? In my opinion, I believe yes. Because if you look at the way the bodies have broken down as reported on the VAERS website, Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. All right, so that is a CDC website, right, run by them. If that's the case, if the bodies are breaking down as reported on the VAERS website, that would mean that it's reasonable to believe, in my opinion, an 88% without a shadow of a doubt, right? That is compelling data. Well, that means if all that is constant, that some of these players are being injured without getting hit because their bodies may be breaking down from all the contents, these ridiculous items in these shots as reported as graphene oxide. You see the video when the brain was cut in half? They opened the brain and there was big blobs of this black stuff. And that was reported to be the graphene oxide actually coagulating and finding the other cells that it has infected after taking these blasted shots. So listen, just take that example and all those examples from the VAERS website. And how many of those athletes have reported? Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I don't know. But it sure seems logical that if you take a shot and you're an athlete and you get injured in a non-contact or a non-common way, it seems to me that those shots are hurting the players. How about those that are paid millions upon hundreds of millions of dollars to play their sport? Right? Is this about population control? Is it about what? Is it about killing people? I don't know. But it appears to be that Big Pharma and the government are in cahoots in sending a message. We want to do what? We want to depopulate. I think Mr. Gates had something to say about that previously. Why don't you go ahead and Google that and you can find it too. There's plenty of that out there. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today. I won't be taking a shot today, but we'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.